Hey y'all, it's Ashley Bookish Rum and I'm back with another video. I am here today to do another reader's advisory, and today I'm going to be focusing on diverse middle grade. I think that the middle grade audience is such an important audience. I know that sometimes we have a little trouble separating children from middle grade. So for me, in my field of librarianship, I look at middle grade as being the target audience from 5th to 8th grade, and that can vary depending upon who you talk to. So I don't think just 6th, 7th, and 8th. I also think that 5th grade can be included in that group. That should be the target audience whenever I am considering whether a book should be middle grade or not. And it doesn't necessarily have to do with length. It could also do with content that is being discussed. It could deal with the complexity of the writing and sentence structures. So these are some middle grade titles that I want to recommend to you that are diverse and just great, well written, and ones that I particularly enjoyed myself. So the first one that I have on this list is Curicure by Cynthia Katahoda, and this is a book about two young girls who are part of the Japanese community that end up moving to rural Georgia. They face a lot of racism and discrimination, and they are trying to become acclimated to their community and the town that they live in, and it's a little bit harder as they make adjustments as their parents try to work and create a better situation for them. One of the sisters is sick, so she's dealing with an illness at the same time of becoming acclimated to this new area in Georgia, and it is a heartbreaking book. A lot of times when you see Newbery winning a book, so this is a Newbery book, they're super depressing. They're usually like really sad, and I hate that they're really sad, but it's the truth. Like, a lot of Newbery books are heartbreaking books, and this is no different. I actually ended up having to read this one for a children's literature class that I took while I was in graduate school getting my MLIS, and I love that this was the book that the professor ended up choosing. So the next book that I have is Amina's Voice by Hina, and this is about a Pakistani American Muslim 6th grader by the name of Amina, who is in middle school, starting middle school, and she typically does keep to herself. She's friends with another girl by the name of Sujin, and they kind of hang out, but then Sujin starts hanging out with another girl by the name of Emily, and Emily is one of the popular kids, and Amina then starts to feel like she's being left out. And it's interesting because while things are going on with Amina, Sujin also has kind of a side storyline. It's not at the forefront of the book or anything like that, but Sujin starts going through this identity thing where she wants to change her name, she wants to relinquish her identity, and Amina doesn't understand why. And then all of a sudden the local mosque is vandalized, so Amina uses her voice to bring the community together and to raise awareness, and she's also a talented singer. So this is a fairly short middle grade book, but super impactful and one that I have always enjoyed. The next one is one that I read recently. It is The Only Black Girls in Town by Brandy Colbert. This features two girls by the name of Alberta and Edie. Alberta lives in this beach community in California, and she lives in a predominantly white area, and she really doesn't have anybody to relate to that's black and the same age as her. And then Edie moves to town from Brooklyn, and they find out that they don't have a lot in common, but the fact that they're black, but they get along very well. I think they complement each other, and each girl deals with their own issues. But they find these letters that are in Edie's room, because I believe that Edie lives in the attic. So they find these letters, and they read these letters, and they find out that there is someone that used to live somewhere in the town or was in the town at some point, and the letters talk a little bit about racism and white passing and colorism, and they go through this journey of trying to figure out who the individual is, and the results of who the individual is that has written the letters is really neat. And I thought that this was a complex book just to be a middle grade book, and very well written. I mean, Brandy Colbert really can do absolutely no wrong, so I think that she just is an amazing author, and this was a great middle grade book. The next one that I would like to add to this list is a middle grade graphic novel, and this is El Defo by CC Bell. This is so good. It is so good. It is a way for Cece Bell to raise awareness about those that are either deaf or hard of hearing and her experience identifying with that community. And she uses bunny rabbits as a way to kind of communicate her experience, and I thought that was just a unique way to talk about her experience, and it shows the struggles that Cece went through as a child and then into growing up, from getting hearing aids and figuring out how to communicate with other people, not only just in her family but going to school and communicating with classmates. And this is just an epic piece of work. I believe that this did also win the Newbery Award, if I'm not mistaken. If it didn't, it at least was a Newbery honor, and it is to date one of my favorite middle grade graphic novels. I think Cece Bell and Raina Telgemeier kind of go hand in hand for me. If you've never heard of Raina Telgemeier, she wrote Smile, which was like her experience like getting braces and stuff. They both do great middle grade nonfiction, like autobiographical tales that really relate to the experiences that middle graders are kind of going through in that moment, like getting braces, having trouble with friends, kind of recognizing parts and aspects of yourself that you may not like as you start to develop and grow older. So they both do a great job, but I definitely recommend checking out El Defo. The next one that I'm going to recommend is George by Alex Gino. They wrote this book a while ago, and this book is always highly debated. This is not a controversial book in terms of content necessarily, but I don't know. I'm looking at it through a different lens. For some people it's controversial because the main character identifies as trans, and this is a elementary to low middle school student. I can't remember the exact age of George, but George wants to play in the school musical slash play Charlotte's Web, and George wants to play the part of Charlotte, and it causes such an uproar. I think it is such an important book. Alex Gino also wrote another one called Rick, which I have not read yet. I believe it is called Rick. I haven't read that yet, but this is a book that I think if it's not on the ban list, it has potential, because a lot of people just don't want their kids to read it. And I'm saying this from a librarian perspective, trying to explain it. I have even seen adults who work in my profession who are like, I don't want to deal with the controversy of the parents, but I think that it's a great eye-opener for younger individuals, especially those in middle school, to understand gender and to understand how to use correct pronouns, how to respect people's wishes, because there are a lot of internal things that George goes through that it's so hard to watch because they're so defeated in certain parts of the book. But it is a hopeful book, but you can see what happens when a child is aware of their gender identity and they want people to use certain pronouns, or they want to do things that break the gender binary, and people are not willing to respect their wishes, and you can see how that is detrimental to the psyche of a child, and you see that with George. So this is one that I did like. I did like that Alex Gino very much so used she, her pronouns for George, even though people were saying that George was a boy. Even within the text, I hope this makes sense, Alex Gino never used he, him pronouns for George. So the last thing that I have here is Look Both Ways by Jason Reynolds, and this is a book about a story told in 10 blocks. It's kind of like a series of short stories, and these characters all belong in the same community, but I don't know if they necessarily understand that the others exist, but they cross paths a lot and their stories impact each other, and sometimes it is a tale that shows that we all come from different places, but sometimes we all have a common ground that we're seeking and that we're all interconnected in some way. This is great. I need to reread this. I listened to this on audio and every section was read by a different narrator, but I definitely would love to listen to this again. And for each section, it tells you what street they're talking about, and some of these stories in here are really, really hard-hitting and impactful, but you eventually get to see how they all tie in together, and I really enjoyed this one. All right, y'all, so that's it. Those are some diverse middle grade books for you to check out. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more content from me, click the subscribe button. If there are any specific topics or genres that you would like to see recommendations in, please let me know in the comment box below and I will try my hardest to make that happen. As always, if you're looking to support my channel, make sure you do subscribe. I probably already said that, but if you're looking to follow me on social media or support my channel, all of my links will be down in the box below, and I will be back with another video soon.